All right, number 13, find the x and y intercepts. So to find the x-intercept, we let y equal 0. To find the y-intercept, we let x equal 0. So let's go ahead and do that. To find the x-intercept, we're going to let y be 0, so I get x plus 4 squared plus 0 minus 1 squared equals 36. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. We subtract that from both sides. That leaves us 35. Take the square root of both sides. Don't forget that leaves me plus and minus the square root of 35, which does not simplify. So my x-intercepts are negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 35. Do the y-intercepts. Let's plug in 0 for x. So 0 plus 4 is 4 squared is 16. I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides of the equation. That leaves me 20 on the right-hand side. Take the square root of both sides. We simplified the square root of 20 earlier on in question number 11, and we get 2 times the square root of 5. Add 1 to both sides, we get 1 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 5. Same thing on number 14. So let's just work through that one, x-intercept. So I get x minus 3 squared plus 0 plus 5 squared equals 16. 0 plus 5 is 25 squared. I'm sorry, 0 plus 5 is 5. Squared is 25. If I take 25 away from both sides, I get negative 9 on the right-hand side, and we cannot take the square root. So x minus 3 would be the plus minus square root of negative 9, but there is none. So we have no x-intercept. And again, when I say there is none in the real number system, which is where we are graphing circles and points at this point. Y-intercept. Plug in 0 for x. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Squared is 9, which we will subtract from both sides. Take 9 from 16. That gives us 7. Take the square root. So y plus 5 is the plus minus square root of 7. So we get negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 7. When it comes to 15 and 16, there are a couple different approaches. One is to actually replace the x and y with zeros when we need to immediately, and then solve what's left. The other is to complete the square, and then it just becomes like questions 13 and 14. So I'm going to do 15 the first way, 16 the other way, just so you can see both approaches here. So let's find the x-intercept by letting y be 0. Now if I do that, I get x squared. The y squared term would drop, being 0, minus 8x. The y term would drop being 0, minus 20 equals 0. Now this gives us a trinomial just like we had in Algebra 1, which you can factor. That factors into x minus 10, x plus 2 equals 0. So we get x-intercepts of 10 and negative 2. Now you might say that seems very nice. Why do we do it any other way? Well, let's take a look at the y-intercept. So now let all of our x's be 0. If I do that, the x term disappears. I get y squared. The x term disappears, minus 16y, minus 20 equals 0. This does not factor like the first one does. So now we're stuck with having to use the quadratic formula, or the way I'm going to do it, which is completing the square anyway. So half of negative 16 is negative 8, squared is 64. So we're left with y minus 8 squared equals 84. Take the square root. Now the square root of 84, I'm going to actually do it down here. That's going to be 4 times 21, which has no perfect square factors. So that's plus or minus 2 square root of 21. So y equals 8 plus or minus 2 root 21. So this way is nice if what you're left with factors like over here on the left. On the right-hand side, it's not much different because you're still having to complete the square anyway. So it's your choice. You can do it however you want. I'm going to go ahead and do this one by completing the square. So we gather our x's, leave a space, gather our y's, leave a space, constant to the other side. Half of negative 6 squared is 9. And half of 8 is 4 squared is 16. We have x minus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 16 and 9 is 25. Take away 24 is positive 1. And now we jump into the x-intercept. So I get x minus 3 squared. And I'm going to take a bit of a jump here. Equals 0 plus 4 would be 4 squared is 16. And when I take away 16 from both sides, I get negative 15. Remember, nothing squared is negative, so we will have no x-intercepts. Let's see here. So if I plug 0 in for x, I get y plus 4 squared equals, plug 0 in, 0 minus 3 is negative 3, squared is 9. Take away 9 from both sides, I get negative 8, and we have the same thing happen over here. We have no y-intercept. Now, I'll show you one thing right quick here. From this step right here, if you had noticed that we had a center of 3, negative 4, and a radius of 1, you can see that from the point 3, negative 4, if you go up 1, right 1, down 1, left 1, there is no way that you will ever hit the x-axis or y-axis. So if on the test you write something like this and then just jot, it'll never hit the x or y-axis, so we have no x-intercepts or y-intercepts. So it is possible to analyze it rather than just jump in and do the math. All right, that ends this video. We'll pick up with number 17 in the next one.